Hello everyone, Messy Stitcher, Vicky here. I hope you're having a nice weekend. It's another bank holiday in the UK today. I feel like every time I post a video it's something to do with the bank holiday at the moment. But it's because we do have a lot of bank holidays around this time, kind of April and May are full up with them. So for some reason, yeah, there's just loads of them. So first of all, I'm really sorry about my appearance. I think it's a bit of a theme that when I post videos I don't make that much effort, but I really haven't today. I'm in my pyjamas. I'm not feeling so great, which I'll get into in a minute. So really I just thought I wanted to get a video up, and I thought I just want to do it really, and usually when I've just woken up out of bed is my kind of motivated time to do stuff like this, so I thought I'll go with it. Thank you so much to everybody. I think it's been over 2 weeks. I think it may be slightly leaning towards the 3-week mark since I last made a video. I don't keep time very well, so it may not have been that long, but I feel like it's been a long time, and sort of a video was due, which I was really looking forward to doing. And in the meantime, I've actually had lots of comments. I've had some people follow me on Etsy again and Google Plus. I don't fully understand Google Plus at the moment, but it was really nice of you guys to do that. I always really appreciate when you're watching my videos and taking the time to comment. I've been really rubbish again with replying to people. It's been mostly because I've actually been feeling quite rough the last couple of weeks. I haven't been like properly ill, but I've had a few things where I've been quite run down. So instead of kind of commenting and stuff, I've been a bit lazy, but I've just been watching a lot of videos as well. So I've really kind of been updating with what everybody's up to. I'm sorry that I don't always get round to commenting on your videos. It's not because I don't value them. It's just I'm the kind of person that uses, as you probably know from my video, I use a lot of words to comment and describe things, and I like to post a meaty comment, and I just haven't had much time, so I've been kind of watching videos and kind of stolen time really. So I'm sorry about that, but it doesn't mean I don't value your videos. I really enjoy them. Today, my main focus of today is that I want to take some time to talk about some of my UFOs, long-term UFOs I'd call them, and there's probably another jargon word that we can use for that, but there's a lot of kits in my stash obviously that aren't finished. Some of them, I'd say about 50% of them, are because I do really like them, and I will get around to them at some point during this year, but they're just not my priority because I've got other sort of projects that I'm really keen to get going on. But there is a proportion of them that I think I've got what I'd call kind of stuck with them, where I feel like I have this horrible feeling they're just going to sit in that kind of stash bag for years and years and never really get done. So what I thought what would be quite interesting today is to talk about those projects and talk about what I think the block is in terms of finishing them, because I think if you don't finish a project, when you're somebody who's a really keen cross stitcher and you really enjoy it, I think if you're not finishing projects there's probably a reason. And I think because a lot of us can be perfectionists, I mean I talk about being like messy stitcher and kind of being quite disorganised and stuff, but I am a perfectionist in that I'm like it with books just as much as I am with cross stitch. I feel like when I've started something I have to finish it, and I think it's okay for us to give permission to ourselves not to finish everything if we're really not feeling it. There are, as plenty of other bloggers point out, you know, there are lots of ways of passing on a project that you don't want to do so that it still gets used by somebody and still has some value, but you just don't have to finish it. So one of my things is that I have pen pals, as I've mentioned. I actually have about 10 people that write to me, varying kind of frequency really, but I tend to try and send them things like that, so projects that maybe I've started and I haven't been able to finish, or things that I've had lying around for ages. I guess there are some that it sounds maybe a bit bad, but there are some that I know that I spent quite a lot of money on that I sort of feel a little bit like are slightly beyond what you might give to somebody just in the post. You know, they're things that perhaps you would want to try and get somebody to invest in them a little bit more. So for me, it's kind of sometimes a bit of a quest to find people in my everyday face-to-face life that love cross stitch as much as I do that I could pass things on to. And I don't have that many people I know that do cross stitch. So with these projects, it's about me either figuring out that, yeah, I do want to go forward with them, or I give them to somebody else. My aunt is a really keen cross stitcher and she does loads of stuff, but I don't really see that much of her. It's not because she lives ages away, but we're both very busy people and I don't see a lot of her. We have a monthly craft club, which I think I've mentioned, which we try to do with my aunt, me and some of my friends, but the last couple of months it's really not happened because of everybody's diaries clashing. So I feel like she's somebody that I could possibly give things to, but I probably would be very embarrassed about the state that some of them are in because she's very neat and tidy with hers. So I kind of get a little bit of embarrassment about handing her over things, but that's a consideration. Anybody else that I know face to face that does cross stitch possibly doesn't do as big projects as me, and that's not in an arrogant way. It's just in the, you know, I mean, I've got a friend who's an amazing cross stitcher and she's so good and neat, gets things done really quickly, but she just prefers smaller projects. And I think some of the ones that I would be thinking of giving her, she probably wouldn't want to do them. And I think it's always a bit awkward if you give somebody something and they don't want to do it, you know. So I guess it's for me to decide what I want to do with these projects, really. I have even considered, I've considered, like, see, I don't really know how this works, but I've considered sending them to some of you guys, just kind of doing a bit of a lucky dip and sending them to, you know, if you were to provide me with your address, I could possibly kind of post it out to you. But it would be on the condition that, you know, some of them are very tatty, very messy, very worn, and I feel a bit embarrassed about giving them to you. But I tell you what, if there is anything that I mention that you are quite keen on, anything I show you in the video that you think you wouldn't mind having a go at and finishing, let me know. I'm not going to promise that I will give it away because I'm having a bit of a think about whether I want to try and kind of get them done myself, but then I know who's interested in particular projects, and you know where I stand with them, you know how much I've done, you know what kind of a state they're in, and if you do still want them and I decide to give them away, I'd be perfectly fine to send them to you. So maybe have a think, have a look at what I'm going to show you, and if there's something that stands out to you at all, then by all means let me know, and I'll keep you in mind for when I make a decision. So I was going to do this video in a slightly different order, but I think now that I've got going on this tangent about unfinished projects, let's go with that. So the first project is, so none of these are going to be things that you haven't seen before on my videos. You'll either have seen them in one of the first videos I did when I took you through all of my unfinished projects, but I didn't go into loads of detail about them, and these are particular ones I want to draw out that I think, sorry about my snippet, that I think would be worth kind of talking about a little bit more and giving you a bit of background story to them. So the first one is, I've mentioned him very briefly before and shown you this video. It's by Powell, and this is called Mini Snowy Cottage. And to give you an idea of the size, it's about 5 times 5 inches. It's a square piece and it really isn't very big. I think for more experienced stitchers you could possibly get this done. I mean, I definitely couldn't, but there are some people out there who I reckon could get this done in a week or two if they set their mind to it. I'm sorry, my stuff was going to fall off my lap there. So that's what it's supposed to look like, and let me give you some background to this. So I got that kit when I was still at university, and I'm just going to have a look at the envelope that I received so I can give you an idea of what the date was. Okay, so it actually says 9th of November 2009. And at the time I was really excited because I think this was around the time that I was probably in my 3rd or 4th, possibly my final year actually. I think it was my final year of university. I was probably very stressed out with my dissertation, with assignments I had to do and stuff. And what I think happened is I'd gone to the October knitting and stitching show with my mum that year, as always. and that's usually the one where they start showing, well, where they have loads and loads of Christmas projects. It's funny because part of me thinks it would be better to have Christmas projects in the summer or the spring one, because the amount of time it takes people like me to get them done. If you're actually aiming to get something done for Christmas, it'll probably be easier to start it in the spring, but there you go. I really like Michael Powell's stuff. I go in and out of it being my kind of thing at that particular phase in my cross stitching, and it is sort of a taste where I don't think, for me, I would always be thinking, oh yeah, you know, I love him all the time, he's one of my favourite designers, but for particular moods he's really good. And he is predominantly an artist, actually. He's one of, I think a lot of cross-stitch designers you would say this about. I mean, I think there are some people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody like Joan Elliott, for example, I see first and foremost as a cross-stitch designer. I see her as somebody who really enjoys cross-stitch design, and that was probably one of her first loves, kind of thing. I know that she does do artwork, but I might be getting this completely wrong, but when I've read about her stuff, I've always read that she, what do you call it, sorry, that she kind of goes straight forward and designs. Now, I think there are other people like Michael Powell who are essentially artists, and that would apply to the category of people on the Heaven and Earth Designs website who are artists, who are basically Heaven and Earth are translating their artwork to cross-stitch designs. Michael Powell does that process himself, but I think he identifies as an artist first and foremost, and I think he sells his artwork at kind of art events, and then cross-stitch is a secondary business that he has. So anyway, off on a tangent, but I remember thinking I want a Christmas project that is going to be fairly quick to finish, which it would have been if I'd have got on with it. And I wanted something that I guess was a little bit different to other things I'd done. The funny thing about me with Christmas designs is I always prefer quite traditional ones. I don't like things with kind of pastel colours and things that aren't, I like those kind of deep, rich, seasonal colours that you get with Christmas designs. So Michael Powell's artwork, it isn't mega modern, but it doesn't traditionally fit into how I see Christmas projects, and I think that might be why I haven't been as overly keen on it as I could have been. So there it is again. So this is how much I got done, and I did show you this in one of my other videos, but this is, so I've done like some of the detail of the house, and I've started to work on the Christmas tree to the side of it. I can't remember exactly where now because it was such a long time ago. I mean, it was probably, I imagine, knowing what my schedule was then, I probably got this done within, you know, the Christmas holidays or something. And we used to have really big holidays at uni, probably Christmas holidays, and that was as far as I got. I probably did loads and then I probably put it down. But I do know that somewhere, and I think it's around the windows, kind of those top windows there, I made a mistake. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, I can't be bothered to unpick this and try and work out where my mistake is. And the irony of it is, I can kind of, it's times like this I can see where my cross stitching has gone a bit further, because now something like a mistake to that extent would not faze me too much. I would just unpick it and it wouldn't take me very long to stitch back that particular thing. Now it's more a case of I do rows and rows and rows of a really big project and then realise I made a huge mistake when I was really tired and done it at night time. So it's weird that I could very easily unpick this and probably unpick the whole thing and start again, and yet I don't, and I don't do it. And I think it's just that it's just not my kind of design. It's okay. The funny thing is, I saw Michael Powell's stall at the Knit and Stitch show that I went to in March, and I saw this amazing kit that I would have loved to get, but it would have been stupid for me to get because it would have taken me forever. But it was these really long, kind of big, kind of vertical panels, and they came in a set of 3. And basically and they kind of were shops on, I think, like a Parisian street, and you could either do one completely on its own, or you did all three, and what you did is you could either match them up very snugly together as one big picture, or you could do, you know, when you get those sort of pictures that you can hang up at home where they're sort of the same picture but they're sort of split up slightly, and you could do it like that. And the whole set was going to be about £120, and I thought, no, you know, I thought it's not, as much as I like it, it's not something that is going to be my absolute favourite project ever, and I knew that, so I didn't do it. But it was stunning, and I really, really liked it. But you know, I don't think that I've gone off his artwork. I just think this particular design was not for me. It also involves a lot of white stitching, so all on the roofs, you know. I don't know, I always, there's something about me, always gets a bit turned off by loads and loads of white stitching, because I kind of, especially on white Aida, I just sort of feel like I'm kind of I get quite bored, and I think that's part of the problem. So there we have it. It's a small, easily achieved Christmas design. I may send it to a pen pal. One of you guys might be interested in it, so have a think. So if I tell you as I go along what state everything's in, so you know and you're not shocked. Hello again. Sorry, what happened was somebody called for me just now while I was filming, which is always a thing I get really embarrassed about, and I thought I'll stop there. So I'm going to try my best to fit these films back together again, but I probably won't be able to, so if I can't, I'll upload them as part 1 and part 2, so sorry about that. So as I was saying at the end of the last video, I'm going to explain to you what state every kit is in, so that if you were interested in it and I do decide to send it out to people, you kind of know what the situation is, because I think of like when people say about when they buy things off eBay and then they just really put out at the kind of state that the person's left it in. So yeah, so I don't want anybody to kind of ask for one of my kits for me to send it out and then for you to think, oh my god, it's in such a state. So it really would be a case of me just posting it out pretty much as it is. So just to let you know, the actual kind of picture itself, the chart and everything, are all fine. They're quite neat and tidy. I have penciled in some of the symbols on the chart, but I can rub them out. As you can see, the age is a little bit kind of creased, and I've done that amount of stitching on it. What I would probably do before sending it to you is literally just unpick everything. So you've got the Aida, you've got most of the threads left, and you can just start again, because to be honest, I can't remember where I got to with it. It's extremely messy, and I think it would be better for you. If I'm being generous, I might iron the Aida as well, so it's not quite as creased. So I'll try and send it in as presentable a way as I can. So obviously, because I've started some work on it, it's not going to be quite as you know, it's not going to be quite as, what do you call it, plentiful, the threads as usual, but you know, the threads are there. They're a little bit messy. I can probably try and neaten them up for you if you did want it, but they're there, and you might find that because I've done a little bit of stitching on it already, you would need to go out and buy a couple. I think the green's sort of almost run out, but yeah, so have a think. What I'll try and do is I'll try and post a comment on the video kind of a little bit later when I've made up my mind about some of the projects about which projects I'd be willing for people to have, and then if it was something that caught your eye, I'd be happy to send it out to you in the post. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to show you is, so again, you may remember this from one of my videos when I first started. So this is called, it's just called Height Chart, and it's by Humphrey Corner. It's an anchor design, and it's a really lovely design. So if you can see, it's a bit shiny, but you get this really lovely kind of elephant design. It goes all the way up. That's one of the inserts of it. If you go here, you can see all, you know, it says, I'll start from the top. It says so big, playtime, and dad shoes, in dad shoes and dad shoes. I can't even see it myself. But it's a really lovely kit. It's really colourful. As I think I've mentioned before, there's something about anchor threads which I prefer to DMC. Yeah, it's really, really nice. And I mean, I got it a long time ago, and I actually can't remember who I would have got it for. I'm not even sure that I would have got it. I always used to think I got it for my niece, because when me and my boyfriend first got together, she was about 1 or something, and I think at the time maybe I thought, you know, well, I can do it for her, but I'm not convinced I did buy it for her now, because from what I remember, I bought it so long ago, that I don't think it would have been for her, so I'm not sure. It may have been that I just decided to buy it because I really liked it. So where I am with this is that I've only done the slipper of the kind of bottom, or most of the slipper of the sort of bottom design of it, with the little elephant sitting in his dad's slippers. Yeah, I don't know. It's a nice kit. There's nothing to really moan about. I think, I don't know what the block is with this one. I think it's just that it just never seems to be the one right at the top of my list. It always seems to kind of be one that I look at and I think, oh, it'd be good to start that one day. And, you know, there's actually loads of kids I could do this for now. I've got loads of children with, loads of friends with children and babies. That would probably be quite, you know, be quite a nice present for them. I've got cousins who have just had babies, so it would be a chance for me to start again, maybe something for when they're kind of a couple of years old, but it just hasn't, it never grabs me. When I look through my stash and I look through everything that I want to kind of begin work on, it's not something that I really, you know, really want to do. So I'm undecided about this. The one that I showed you before, the Michael Powell one, I think, to be honest, I'd be quite happy to send that out to anybody that wants it. Might take me a little bit of time because I've got to unpick everything, but if you do want that, let me know. This one I'm a little bit undecided because it feels like something that I might be wasting, and that, you know, kind of feel like it should be something that I complete because it's really nice and it's really colourful and there's loads of people that could do it. So I'm going to have a think, but I don't know why. I'm sure you find this with other projects, that, you know, there are things that really, you know, tick all the boxes for you, but just for some reason it's not really happening. I mean, this is colourful, it's a children's design which I normally like. It's not a particularly challenging stitch, it's mostly whole stitches and just back stitch, but for some reason it's just not doing it for me. So there's, to tell you what state it's in case I do decide to pass it on, the aida's okay. It's not actually, sorry, I have to keep refreshing my screen otherwise it goes black. The aida's okay, it's a little bit creased again. You know, if I do give it away, perhaps I could iron it for you before I send it out. I probably would leave the stitching that I've done so far in it for you, because it's quite neat and tidy actually. It's not too bad on the back. I'm sure yours would be neater, but it's not too bad, so I'd probably leave what I've done for you and you can pick it up. Yeah, there's kind of a part of me that doesn't want to give it away because I'm kind of sad about it, but I don't know whether I'm just hoarding really, because I actually don't think it's very likely that I'll get this done, so we will see. Okay, so that's that one. The next one is such an old UFO that I can't, it feels like it needs to have a completely different name. I can't even remember how old I was when I got this, but I think by the design of the kit and the way that my stitching looks on it, I think I must have been about 15, 16 at the very most. I can't remember how I got it. I wonder whether I just got it at a cross-stitch fair or something again. But it's called Sweetheart's Gate, designed by Sandy Bergeron. It's a dimensions kit, and it's actually really nice. It's this kind of garden gate with lots of flowers, birdhouse. Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice picture, and I remember thinking, I mean, I can't remember anything else about it, but I do remember thinking that my grandma would really like it. I've already made her that grandchildren sampler that I've showed you before, so I'm not sure whether I'd make her another one now, and I think also at the time I had my other nan who was alive that possibly would have liked this design. I think this is one I'd be quite happy to pass on. I don't think it's one that I'm ever going to really do. It's a really lovely design, but it's just, there's just so many other things that I think I would be doing first. So if anybody does want this one, let me know. It is very, very tatty, and I really apologise, but it literally has been sitting around since I was about 15, and I'm now 26, 27, so nearly 27, so obviously it's been sitting around for sort of 11, 12 years, and it's not in the best, you know, it's certainly, I mean, this you can see is really, really creased, but you know, you can see it and you can look at the design. The aida isn't too bad. It's very frayed around the edges because I never used to bother kind of binding the edges, but if you can deal with that. I've done that amount of stitching on it, which is a really tiny amount, and it's really untidy at the back, so again I could take that out for you. One thing I remember about this, which some of you might like but might put some of you off, is that there is lots of stitching with 3 lengths or 4 lengths, so they're really thick stitches in some areas, and that's mainly around the, it's for an effect because it's around where the purple blossom is on the tree. And I remember it felt quite, I think, you know, the needle that came with it was quite a sturdy needle. I'm not a huge fan of doing really thick stitches, but if you'd be fine with that and happy with that, then by all means you're welcome to this one. So do let me know. As I say, I mean, these aren't beyond repair. I mean, I can make them look neater for you by the time I send them out to you. Again, I've got the pattern, and I've filled it in pencil. It wouldn't be. Oh my god. Sorry, I feel like I'm being so gross. Sneezing and everything while I'm talking to you. But yeah, it's only, you know, it's only pencil, and I can easily rub it out and kind of get it looking nicer for you. So, and you know, although they're actually although they're a little bit tangled, looks like most of the threads are there as they would be because I hadn't used very much. Lovely colours. You might want to put them on something sturdier because this is a bit kind of weak looking, but yeah, you would be very welcome to this kit if you would like it. So there we are. Hello again, sorry, I've been interrupted twice while I've been trying to do this video. I think I've worked out a way to clump everything together actually, so sorry if it comes across as a little bit jumpy in places. First time doing any form of editing, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, so to finish off, that was that kit. You are more than welcome to that if you would like it, and I'm sure that I don't mind giving that away, so that's fine. One I'm a bit more ambivalent about, because I think that if when it was finished it would be very, very good, but I think I know the reasons why I'm not getting on with this. So this was the Russian kit, and it was the Rioli's company, and it was basically a cross-stitch kit of the Kiss by Klimt. Now, going back about 3 years ago, this was a really, really popular kit that was at all the cross-stitch shows, and they were always sold out. And even when they weren't sold out, they were charging about £60 for it. When I eventually got it, I paid £37, and I actually found it in Hobbycraft. Hobbycraft is, I think I've mentioned before, they're the chain store in the UK for crafty stuff. They do tend to be a bit overpriced, and generally I don't find their cross-stitch selection is that great. But on this one occasion they happened to have it, and I can only imagine they ordered it in because it must have been in quite a lot of demand. I've seen it stitched up on the stalls. There you are again. You know, I've seen it stitched up on the stalls, and it is amazing. And you can't see very well, but there are lots of beads that you can attach to it as well. I didn't get very far with this. I started it on a weekend away with my boyfriend, and I really only did a very small bit in the middle, which is this piece here, and you wouldn't even know that's just part of the pattern. It's relatively neat still. The aidas, you know, again, could iron it if I gave it away. I think I am going to keep this one because this is one that I do genuinely want to finish at some point, because I really love this piece of art. It's one of my favourite paintings, and I know that the kit looks amazing when it's done. There are a few issues with the materials which I found quite difficult, and I think that what might have been the block. It's quite a lot of palaver to kind of do it, really. So the really good thing, I better not show you the actual chart itself, the really good thing, which I wish more UK suppliers did, is that the chart is in colour. Now I suppose it can get a little bit confusing and irritating for some people. I can kind of understand why some people don't like colour charts, but I find them really helpful. I think that it helps to reassure you that you've got a symbol right. You know, sometimes when you're thinking, oh, you know, I can see the symbol and I think it's this one, but there's about 50 colours in this kit, you know, have I got the right one? It just reassures you that you're doing the right bit. I like that, so that's a real positive. But the thing for me that's a huge negative, and for others maybe would be really nice, but not for me, here's lots of different colours for it. And as you might be able to see, if I just show you one of the colours, for example, it's very woolly. I don't know what you would call this thread, but it's certainly nothing like the texture of DMC or anchor thread. It seems like wool to me. It seems like fine wool, and it's got a lot of fuzziness around it. And I can imagine that the longer and longer you work on the project, the fuzzier and fuzzier it gets, and the harder it is to work with. And it kind of gives this woolen effect, which I think when the actual piece is finished looks really nice. But when you're doing it, I think it's a real nightmare to work with. And I do remember getting quite frustrated even just doing those few stitches. It kind of reminds me of tapestry rather than cross stitch. It's almost like the kind of, I mean, I haven't done a lot of tapestry, but it's that kind of texture of the threads that you use that's very woolen. I presume that that's to give it a certain effect when you finish it, and that's fine, but it's not my natural inclination to work with kind of wool. That's why I'm not any good at knitting and crochet, and I don't particularly like the texture of it. I think I'll like it when it's finished. But I was a little bit disappointed. I didn't really, you know, and the other thing is that it's actually quite confusing to work out. There's loads and loads of bundles of it everywhere, and they're not very well organised, and you kind of have to keep comparing, because as much as I say about the colour chart, actually the colours themselves are on like this on the kind of hole punched kind of card, but they've got numbers rather than the symbols, which I can't really understand why they didn't just give you the symbols alongside it. But they've put little pieces of each one on so you can kind of match the colour to the number, but then they haven't put the symbol next to it. And this is a long-running theme of cross-stitch kits. I'm going to have a bit of a moan now, but this is a really long-running theme which I do not understand, and maybe there's a manufacturing reason for it. But I find there's a real tendency towards them kind of, they provide you with the threads and they might do something like put the code number by it, but they don't put the symbol. So you have to draw all the symbols on yourself. And I just think, well, why can't you just print the symbol on things and have them all kitted up, ready to go? Why does everybody have to kind of sort out their threads for themselves? It just seems really counterintuitive that the idea of a kit is to be all complete, as easy as possible for somebody to get started, and they've got all this faffing around with sorting out the threads. It just seems very strange, but a lot of kits do it, and I wonder whether there's some reason for it that I'm not aware of. But a really lovely thing with this kit, which I really like, is there's all of these lovely beads that go on it. So there's kind of beads like this, there's a lovely kind of green colour that goes in his hair, and there's these kind of oblong ones which are kind of golden. So yeah, I am a bit loath to give this away. I'll be a little bit selfish here and say I'm probably not going to. I probably will keep it. But I think the block is definitely the threads that I'm using with it. I think that they are kind of going to be a little bit awkward to work with, and I think that's why I've left it for so long. It's been almost 2 years since I picked it up, which seems crazy, but it really has been, because that weekend that we had away was for his birthday, which was like, you know, in August, not last year but the year before. So that's one that I think when I've got other things out of the way I probably will begin it again. But it's interesting that it can be a painting that I really, really love, and I just haven't got around to doing it. I don't know. The last kind of one on my, and this is probably out of all of the cross stitch kits that I've ever done, this is the biggest disaster, absolutely biggest disaster in terms of, you know, such a disappointment. And it's all, the disappointment is my fault, it's not the manufacturer. I was so pleased with the actual kit itself, but it's just turned into a nightmare. So to remind you from my other video, it was Fairy Tale, which is a gold collection design. It's really, really lovely, and you can't really see it on here, but there's a lot of sparkly fabric, there's a lot of blending or tweeding, as some people call it, used. Really, really nice. And I talked about this in the other video, but one of the reasons, well, the main reason why this didn't go to plan is I did a lot. I actually did it on a frame as well, and I got all of this sort of section done with her skirt. I got the pearl filament used. It's quite a small count, it's 18 count, so I was having to be really, really kind of aware of where I was going with everything. And it just all went wrong. It just all went wrong. So it probably doesn't seem very apparent just looking at that bit, but there is a few major mistakes in there, which meant that when you're kind of counting from a stitch to do something else, it was just obviously wrong. And the more and more I did it, the more and more I realised I can't. I think it was one of those situations where you do a few stitches wrong and you think, to be honest, I think with all the pearl filament and everything I had to use, it was, you know, it was going to be a nightmare to unpick it. So I thought, no, I'll carry on and I'll just kind of adjust it slightly, but it became harder and harder to adjust, and I just thought, you know, this is not working. And then what I ended up doing is I thought, right, okay, I don't have the energy or the motivation to unpick all of that stuff yet, so let me start with, you know, something different. And I decided, because I grew in confidence about doing things kind of from corner to corner rather than having to do them from the centre. I think the centre in this design actually confused things and made it worse. So I thought, right, okay, well, what I'm going to do instead is start from a corner and I'll unpick the rest of it later. So I started right at the bottom doing the sort of beginnings of the path, but I got bored because the colour was so boring. It's like a grey beige colour. All in all, I think I didn't think of this, it didn't even occur to me for a while, but I sort of realised that actually a really good idea might be to just buy a new bit of aida, just buy a new piece of 18 count aida and start again, and then as and when I need to replenish the threads, I'll buy them. It's not one I think I would give away, because this is one of the kits. What made it so disappointing is this picture is one of the nicest sort of designs that, for my taste, you know, it's quite complex one to do, it's got lots of colour, it's quite kind of fantasy kind of style, and I was really disappointed that, you know, I couldn't get it done, because I could see this on my list. It's out of all of the projects I've worked on, this is probably my favourite. Aside from Heaven and Earth stuff that is going to take me years and years, but in terms of kind of semi-achievable projects, this was really going to be my favourite. And I don't want to give up on it, but I think that the amount that I've done on this aida, the mess that it's in, the damage it would do to all the holes in the aida to unpick everything, I think it's actually better for me to spend a few pounds on a new piece of aida and start it again. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is definitely not going to be one to give away, but it does make me kind of sad with this one, because I kind of put a lot of effort. I think even for that section it was probably about 30 hours work, which it doesn't look like. So I'm going to have to think about, you know, I mean, Aida's actually not very expensive, and I might even consider doing it on even weave actually, because I think I've kind of really, I mean, the count of this is 18 count, so it's so small it doesn't really show up, but I've never really liked the texture of aida very much, and now that I've kind of got used to stitching on even weave, I think that would be more suitable. So yeah, so it won't be expensive, but it was a solution that didn't even occur to me when I thought about it before, and that's a way that I can carry on the project and not feel like I've completely, you know, have to spend another £45 to get a whole new kit. So obviously I'm going to run out of colours, but I'll deal with that as and when it comes up. So that's those projects. I mean, it's kind of, those are ones that I feel quite frustrated with for different reasons that I've mentioned. So to recap, the ones, there's probably 2 kits then, and possibly 3 that I would be willing to give away if anybody did want them. Tell you what, let's just go with it. Let's just say these 3 kits I am more than happy for you to have, and I will make arrangements to tidy them up a bit, get them sent out to you if you want them. I'm not going to have a thing, I've decided. So the Dimensions Fairy Tale kit and the Klimt Kiss kit I'm going to keep for myself because I do feel that I want to get them done. But these 3 kits I am more than happy. So if you could let me know if you're interested in having them, I can, and maybe send me, I think there's a way to send me a message on YouTube, but even if you just comment the video, probably for me, what you can do is comment the video, express an interest in the kit that you'd like, and then say you're going to instant message me, so I'll be on the lookout for it, and I'll look out for a message from you, and we can talk about what address you'd like it posted out to, and I can give you a bit more detail about what state it's in and what I've been able to do with it. Obviously it might take me a bit of time because a couple of these need some unpicking, but I'm happy. I think I've decided, you know, it leaves some room in my stash, and I think I need to be realistic and kind of focus on the things that I have the time to do, rather than keep thinking I'm going to finish things I've had around for 4 or 5 years that aren't going to happen. So just to recap, the things up for grabs are the Dimensions, Sweetheart's Gate, very tatty, but most of the stuff is still there and barely started. I'll unpick it for you and I'll iron the Aida for you, and I'll get everything looking as neat as possible. There's the Humphrey's Corner height chart with the slipper of that elephant there mostly done, and I would leave that for you because it's quite neat and tidy and no real issues with that. Probably needs an iron, I can do that for you. Most of the threads are still there, but you might need to replenish some. And then we have the Michael Powell kit, which I will unpick the stitching for you. Shouldn't make the Aida too bad. As I say, you might need to replenish some of the threads later on in the project, but you're welcome to that. So let me know, comment the video, message me. I'm sorry if it takes me a little bit of time to respond because I'm really busy at the moment, but I will respond to you if you want the kit. And I guess first come, first serve, so the first person that expresses an interest in any of those 3 kits, I'll send it out to you. I guess I should put a bit of a caveat that if it's I think I'm happy to send kits out to the US or to Australia, but I would need to choose the cheapest kind of postage option. So you might find that it takes quite a long time to get to you, but it will get to you. So I'm happy to do that. But obviously, if you're a UK viewer, you're going to get it a lot quicker. You'll probably get it within a few days. So let me know, and I'll feel like I've done my good deed for the day, giving away some of my kits. So there you go. So that's that part. So let's go on to WIP progress. So one of the things I wanted to show you was my friend got me these really cool Kidston wallets to keep my projects in, and I really love them, and she knew that I love Kidston stuff, so she's got me them, and I've started to use them for my cross stitch. So there's not a lot to show you on Disney Dreams. I'm not even sure that I would have done any since I last posted, but quickly flash it up. It's Beauty and the Beast Falling in Love, and this is where I am with it at the moment. There you go. I can't see the camera, but I'm assuming you can see enough there. So it may be a bit of a change. You'll see some work on the castle. The sunset is more block coloured in. There's more kind of to it now. I've started doing some of the greenery as well, so I'm getting there with that. I haven't got a formal rotation sorted out, but as I'm just about to show you, I've been working on my Mirabilia for the last kind of few days. So I think just for sort of a couple of weeks, I'm going to leave the Disney Dreams kind of to one side and try and get some of the Mirabilia done and then come back to it. So, but I'm really enjoying the Disney kit. I think it's really, really, it really feels nice to work on. I love the colours, it keeps my interest, and I like the fact that it's very filled in, and I do have a kind of gut feeling that I'm actually going to finish it, which is nice. So yeah, so moving on to my Mirabilia. So to remind you, I'm doing Royal Holiday, and the idea of this is to try and get it done for this Christmas for my mum as her present for Christmas. So we will see, that's the plan. So when I last posted, I showed you the materials, and I showed you that I'm working on this kind of, I think it might be 28 count linen, I can't even remember now. I haven't done loads, try and show you in the neatest way possible. I've done that much so far, which probably doesn't seem very much at all, but I actually am quite pleased, because that's a couple of days of stitching actually. And I think somebody else had posted that Mirabilias actually aren't too difficult to get things done fairly quickly. It just seems, I think because it's not, you know, obviously there is some confetti stitching in the design, but there's quite large blocks with the same colour, so you can really work at something for a while. I'll be honest, I have had to unpick quite a lot, and that's not really been the fault of the design. It's because I've been really tired when I've been doing it in the evenings after work, and I've just made some mistakes, so I've unpicked some stuff, but it's never taken me very long to get back to it. I love working on the linen. Nothing's caused me a problem with the linen so far. I expect I'll have my moments with it as we go along, but that's what I've done. I'm quite pleased with that. So that's, if to put it in perspective of the pattern, that's sort of that section where she's holding her candle. So I'm working on that bit first. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love the texture of the linen. The only slight annoyance is that I'm stitching it in hand, and it's quite a firm piece of linen, and it's getting more and more crease the more I'm doing that. I think if it wasn't for the fact that it was completely packed away, by now I probably would have contemplated kind of getting my frame out and putting it on there, but because that's all packed away, I'm not doing that. I'm just continuing in hand, but it is making it a bit hard to manoeuvre. I think because it's stiff, it kind of sits there as one big thing, and it's really hard, and I tried rolling the side of it and clipping it with something, but it just was a bit like, oh, so I might actually get at the very least, I might get a hoop, and just, you know, just so I can kind of keep it in one place. So that's that. I haven't done loads and loads. As I say, I'm not sure that the Disney's had that much change since you last saw it, and the Mirabilia is not a huge amount, but I was quite pleased. I think it's going to be a really nice stitch, so I'm really looking forward to that. So the other thing I wanted to mention is I sort of showed this in another one, but this is another Heaven and Earth design I've got, and it's actually a book that my Dutch pen pal sent to me, and she's had it for a while. It's a Josephine Wall design, and it's called Minerva's Melody, and it's really nice. And I just wanted to show you again, really, because I'm getting I've been looking, one of the things I've been doing the last couple of weeks is really looking through my Heaven and Earth wish list, and because I've got my birthday coming up on July the 4th, I've been kind of getting everything on there, not because I think anybody's going to be able to afford to get me a full kit, but I thought maybe, you know, I wanted to get through all of the pages and look at the designs that I like and just put them on there for my own good, really. So I've been thinking about Heaven and Earth more lately. I obviously had a period of time when I wasn't really thinking about it that much because mine was packed away, it still is packed away, can't really do a lot with it. So I was a little bit disappointed, but actually I sort of feel like I'm getting that interest back into it because I can see a time in the next few months where I'll be able to start work on it, and it's even it can take a whole evening in itself just looking through all the designs on there. So I'm really enjoying just kind of browsing as much as stitching, really. So I thought of this that my friend sent me, and I thought that's one that I would like to do one day, and I'm going to keep that for one day in the future when I feel like starting a kind of a big project. But it'd be nice to see how my Heaven and Earth design goes when I actually start it. I don't know what I'm going to do if I get another Heaven and Earth for my birthday because I'm going to be so tempted to just drop everything and start that, but obviously if I'm already working on one, it's probably not a great idea to have more than one Heaven and Earth on the go. Yeah, so what was I going to say? The other thing, I guess if we've been talking about giving things away, I'm not going to go through all of them because there's loads, but I wanted to let you know that I have a whole massive bag of little projects from magazines. So these are two examples. So you've got, like hedgehog pincushion kit, dress up Sophie card. So these are just little ones, little stitches. A lot of them are card designs or bookmarks or little things that I've been sent, So if they tend to be mostly from Cross Stitcher magazine, and I'm aware that a lot of you probably buy that one. I don't buy it anymore because I prefer Cross Stitch Crazy. I actually think Cross Stitch is a really good quality magazine, but I prefer Cross Stitch Crazy. But what I was going to say to you is that if you are on the lookout for some really small projects that you don't really buy magazines very often and you wouldn't have these yourself already, then just as with the other kits, if you'd like me to send some out, I can probably send each person kind of 2 or 3 little kits, and I'll cut out the bit of the magazine that has the pattern on it for you. Because to be honest, I'm looking to get rid of these. I don't think I'm ever going to use them, and they're just sitting there really. And sometimes I think about sending them to my pen pals, but most of my pen pals buy that magazine, so I sort of feel like they've already got them really. So I thought it might be nice for YouTube viewers of my channel who don't tend to buy the Cross Stitch magazines and just want little mini kits to kind of do. If you would be interested in that, again, first come, first served. If you'd like to leave a comment, and we'll message about me sending them out to you, that would be absolutely fine. You'll find that a lot of them have actually the envelopes been opened and things like that, but I can kind of put them in a plastic bag for you and make sure, so you might find the actual envelope that they came in is torn where I've actually looked at them, but most of them I haven't even started. So I'll try and stick to ones that I've not touched and not done anything with, rather than the kind of things that I've already started stitching. But it's quite rare for me to work on these ones, and I know there are a lot of people out there that like making cards, that like quick stitches they can finish in a weekend. I'm more of a do a massive project that's completely unrealistic and never get it done kind of person. But I wish I did more of these because they're more achievable, and they're also something that you can kind of get quite a lot of projects done within kind of a week or two. So yeah, let me know if you're interested. I think I've got probably about 15 or so of them, so if you wanted 2 or 3 sent out to you, that's not a problem. I can do that. I feel like very cleansed by sending out some of my stash to people, so yeah. So that's it really from me. A couple of things to mention is for a really long time I've not got round to finding it, but I noticed that a lot of people mention the Facebook group Cross Stitch and Discuss, and I actually haven't looked at it properly yet, but I just joined the group yesterday, and I know that's one where some of the stitch alongs get spoken about, and quite a few of the YouTube bloggers are on there, so I'm looking forward to kind of getting on there. I'm happy for people who are part of the Cross Stitch community to add me on Facebook. That's not a problem for me, as long as I know roughly who they are and that I have had some kind of contact with them before, that's fine. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. The other thing, I don't know if I mean, it's very likely that a lot of you are already, but if you're not, There's a Heaven and Earth Designs Facebook group that I'd really recommend you join, even if you don't think that you would do a Heaven and Earth yourself. There's so many members, there's like thousands of members, so for me it's real entertainment just being able to look through everybody's progress. People post photos, people ask general stitching questions. It's really interesting. I think it's a really good group, and it gives me hours of entertainment, so I thought you might like that as well. And also check out the Gecko Rouge stitching group. That's again based around a particular Etsy shop or craft shop, Gecko Rouge, who are based in the UK, who stock some quite cool designs, quite large designs as well, and they have their own group. So I thought it might be something that you'd like to check out if you haven't already, and I will be looking at cross stitch and discuss and hopefully getting much more involved in things than I have been so far. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that the editing works and that everything kind of swishes together okay. It'll probably be a couple of weeks till I post next time, but I'll, and as I say, I'm being a bit rubbish with comments, but do let me know if you would like anything out of my stash that I've mentioned, so the 3 main projects and any of the mini kind of magazine kits that I've got, and I'd be happy to send them out to you. So thank you very much. I will see you soon. Happy stitching, and talk soon. Bye.